This is your 420 Radio News for Thursday, May 1st, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Even opponents of legal marijuana wouldn't call the cops on a pot-smoking neighbor, from the Huffington Post. At least half of Americans support legalizing marijuana, recent polls have shown, but even among Americans who think the drug should be illegal, few are so strongly opposed that they would report a pot-smoking neighbor to the police. According to a new HuffPost YouGov poll, Americans support legalizing marijuana by a margin of 50% to 32%, but the number of people who would call the cops on a neighbor is much lower than that. Only 16% said they would report their neighbor to the police if they saw that person smoking marijuana in their home or yard, while 70% said they would not do that. Even Americans who think marijuana should be illegal were unlikely to take that step. Among opponents of legalized pot, only 34% said they would call the police on their neighbor for smoking weed, while 47% said they would not. And although Republicans oppose legalizing marijuana by a 53 to 29 margin, they also said by a 56 to 27 margin they wouldn't call police on their neighbor for smoking it. Overall, the 16% of Americans who said they would call the police on their neighbor for smoking pot was fewer than the number that would report a neighbor for playing loud music at night, 31%, or even letting their dog run around the neighborhood off a leash, 25%. Americans were somewhat more likely to say they would call the police if their neighbor was growing marijuana in their home or yard than if they were merely enjoying it there. Even then, though, only 34% said they would report it, while 48% said that they would not. Limited medical marijuana bill reaches Iowa Governor Branstad's desk, from the PressCitizen.com. Iowa lawmakers early Thursday morning approved legislation legalizing the possession and use of marijuana oil for the treatment of epilepsy, capping one of the most unexpected public policy developments in recent state history. After appearing all but dead in the waning hours of the 2014 legislative session, a bill allowing patients with intractable epilepsy to use the substance known as cannabidiol was brought to the House floor at 3:20 in the morning on Thursday and approved less than 20 minutes later. The Senate approved the House's language on a 38-8 vote a short time later, sending the bill to Governor Terry Branstad, who has indicated a willingness to sign it. The bill approved Thursday decriminalizes possession of cannabidiol for epileptic patients and their caregivers who receive a neurologist's recommendation and obtain a state-issued ID card. The doctor must practice in Iowa, and the caregivers must be designated by the recommending doctor. Production and sale of the oil is not legal under the bill, however, meaning patients or caregivers will have to obtain it elsewhere and bring it back to Iowa, violating federal trafficking laws. Possession of the oil will be limited to 32 ounces, roughly a 6-month supply. Medical marijuana bill killed by Louisiana Senate committee, from NOLA.com. Hope for medical marijuana legislation getting through the Louisiana legislature this year is not dead, but a Senate committee quashed on Wednesday the best shot of setting up a medical marijuana industry in the state. The Senate Health and Welfare Committee killed the bill, sponsored by Senator Fred Mills, a Republican, that would have set up the tightest law in the United States regulating the prescription, dispensing, and use of marijuana for medical purposes. Mills, a pharmacist by occupation, said his past experience running the State Board of Pharmacy and months he spent drafting the legislation led him to believe this bill was the best chance of getting lawmakers on board. Governor Bobby Jindal's comments earlier this year that he was open to medical marijuana in Louisiana added hope. Though the legislature legalized medical marijuana in 1991, there's no mechanism in current law that allows for the legal dispensing of the drug. The bill was involuntarily deferred by a vote of 6-2. Minnesota House leaders offer marijuana compromise, from CBSLocalMinnesota.com. Democratic leaders in the Minnesota House on Thursday proposed a limited clinical trial for medical marijuana, a compromise proposal that they said is unopposed by law enforcement. A push to legalize medical marijuana has been blocked this session largely by opposition from law enforcement. Their proposal would allow children and adults suffering from severe illnesses to use medical marijuana with the option of a state source for the drug if no federal source is available. It specifies that the drug could not be smoked, a key concern of police groups. If used in leaf form, the proposal says it could be done only through medically supervised delivery by vaporizer. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett changes position on medical marijuana, sort of, from WGAL.com. Governor Tom Corbett is changing his position on medical marijuana and backing the legalization of a marijuana extract to treat severe seizures in children. The oil extract, called cannabidiol, can save the lives of seizure-racked children. Democrats running to challenge Corbett in the fall election also favor the legalization of medical marijuana. This has been your 420 Radio News for Thursday, May 1st, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we'll go behind the headlines and take a look at the statements by DEA Administrator Michelle Lenhart to the Senate Judiciary Committee and the questionable nature of some of the statistics she is using. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.